So, first of all, we start with asking you your name.
David Allport.
David Allport.
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 A-W-L-P-O-R-T, yeah.
All right. And is that a local name?
No, it's originally a Shropshire name.
Shropshire. Is that, are you from mining stock?
Yes, my dad, my granddad were all miners.
Really?
Probably dating back into the 1700s.
Really? Have you done, what's the word, research?
Yeah, well, the family tree was done back to 1725, which
really?
was in West Bromwich.
Really? Mining?
No, he was an engineer, that gentleman, which at that time he went from being an engineer to a gun maker, clock maker.
Flipping heck, so that's, at that time, that's top of the tree, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the sense of
engineering.
craft guilds, engineering.
Yeah.
What, we're talking 18th century, mid-18th century?
Well, 1725 that was.
Flipping heck.
Yeah.
Was he in Allport?
Yeah, no,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
And do you know what the name comes from?
Not really, no. There are thoughts that the family actually go back to Cornwall to the tin mining
Right.
in Cornwall.
Is there a town called Allport?
Yeah, my family went up into Lancashire. My mum and dad were born in Bolton in Lancashire.
Right.
And then they came over here with the mining in the 20s.
So, do you know why?
Probably to move with the jobs, with mining.
So does that mean...
The pits were opening over here, shutting over there.
Right, so the pits up in Lancashire would have been drying out or
Well,
emptying out?
some of them may have been shutting, yeah, or economically it was more economical to come and move about.
Right. And so therefore you were brought up in Shropshire?
No, I was born in Doncaster.
Doncaster?
Yeah, my mum came over here as more or less as a child from Bolton. I had family in Bolton and Wigan, and mum came over here with my gran, and then she lived in Hyde Park, my gran.
So why is it? So you say your mum was living with her grandmother?
Yeah, she came over as a child.
As a child,
mum,
right.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
does
then
that
married
mean
my
your
dad.
grandfather wasn't around with your grandmother?
No, he was there. He worked at Brodsworth Pit. My granddad.
Right.
Yeah, he was at Brodsworth Pit.
And what period is that?
That was 1950s, 1960s. He worked there. He retired. I think he retired when he was about 70.
Crikey.
Granddad,
Really?
yeah.
Mining till he was 70?
Yeah. Well, those days you had to, didn't you? There were no.
Bloody hell. I mean, was that active mining or was he put into an office type thing?
No, it would be active mining.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
quite a thing actually, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because I mean, the way the mining seems to work at the moment, it seems you progress to the face, as it were. That's where
Well,
the best money is.
I actually went down I was probably one of the youngest to go down Armthorpe Pit. I was at Markham Main at Armthorpe. I started as a apprentice fitter, apprentice mechanic, and I went down the pit on my 18th birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you weren't allowed to go down.
Until you was 18.
Yeah.
I started at Armthorpe in 1972 or 73.
And did you stay as a fitter?
I stayed when I qualified. I stayed as a fitter until just after miners' strike.
And what is a fitter?
It's somebody who repairs all the machinery. We were trained as apprentices. We were trained to do everything. We could weld. We could make things on lathes.
Really?
Do anything, yeah.
And was all that available at the
Not down the pit, but it was available on pit
on the,
top.
on the
Yeah.
pit top?
But you were trained to do everything. You could work anywhere. So I spent most of my career was on coal face.
Repairing
machinery, yeah, keeping it running, changing it over at weekends when it needed changing, general maintenance.
Yeah. And a life you chose?
Not really. My mum always said if I ever went down a coal mine, she'd break my legs because all the family had worked down coal mines. And it was obviously a very dangerous job. And I think she was a bit disappointed when I went there.
What was your motive?
It was a job at the end of the day as an apprenticeship. I left school around about the time where all industries were cutting back. There weren't many apprenticeships. And the NCB offered a very good apprenticeship. Probably one of the best.
When you say good apprenticeship, what were you gauging it by? Money you got or
No,
skills you
no,
learned?
no, the skills you learned. Skills that you could take anywhere, literally in the world. Some of my colleagues went to work in America and places like that, mining.
Did you have that kind of ambition?
Not really, no. No, I'm a bit of an home bird. I like being at home. I'm not one for wanting to go and work abroad. Quite happy where I am.
Yeah. So you stayed at Broadsworth?
Armthorpe,
sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Your dad was in Broadsworth?
My dad was at Rosington.
This is so confusing.
Yeah.
So bloody.
My granddad was at Broadsworth. My dad was at Rosington. I was at Armthorpe, Markham Main.
And was that a big pit? Deep pit?
It was a deep one, yeah. I think it was 660 yards, if I remember rightly.
That's down.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
it's a
quite
big-
an old pit. It opened at, I think it was about 1910, 1912, something like that, if I remember rightly.
Really? Did it go that deep that fast? I mean, that early?
Yes, it was a complete shaft when it was dug, yeah. I believe, anyway.
And your first trip down the cage,
It was.
could you believe how...
It's interesting, yes. It's a little bit faster than a lift in a shop.
Did you have all the apprehension and the fears on your first days? It were?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's if you didn't have fear, it's not a place you should be, because
Yeah.
it's a very dangerous environment.
So as a fitter, you stayed as a fitter the whole time?
Yes. I was a mechanic all the time.
So you didn't have to do any of the market man business and all that?
No. Just repairing machinery
Is
if
that
it
quite
broke down.
a lonely, not lonely, what I mean is solid. You're not kind of part of a working team, you're more of a guy that sorts stuff out with broken machines when they're having a tea break type thing? Or
No.
when-
We worked in twos. There was usually two of you together, fitters.
Right.
And you had your own coal face. And you usually worked two of you, so you weren't lonely.
So are you often getting into... I mean, is it quite, I suppose...
You could be working on your own long
Yeah.
distances from people, but yeah.
I mean, are you going down, what sort of pit face, how big was the coal face at some...
Some were 8 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot.
Oh, quite nice ones.
One of the ones that I worked on was 20 foot.
High?
Yeah.
So it was a good...
Yeah,
so
so when anything fell out roof, you didn't know till it hit you.
there's another problem then.
Yeah.
So when this is Markham Main had between an 8 foot and a 20 foot coal face.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
actually
they-
really quite a special
yeah,
one then.
Yeah, it was
That's-
quite a thick. It was the Barnsley Dunstall seam, which is quite a thick seam at Armthorpe.
Does that mean that people? Would you find people? Is it like a league of mines? And if like God, they've got an 8 foot coal face, we'll try and get there. Or did people not be worried about that?
You went wherever you were sent.
So people didn't like try and get into yours.
No.
Because the
The only time anybody ever tried to get into mining, other than somebody who wanted a job, was when they started shutting the big industries down around Doncaster, like harvesters, places like that. They all came to the pit because it was the only one that were employing.
Right. Harvesters, what's that?
International harvesters. They used to build tractors.
Oh right. Okay.
Well, when the big industry started
Yeah.
contracting.
So, your dad, was he happy you were down there?
My dad came out. He came out to the mines. I would say in the mid-60s. He became a bus driver.
Right.
My dad, yeah.
So you were in the... Did you overlap your time?
No. I was only a child when my dad came out of the pit.
Right.
All three of my uncles, they all worked at different pits.
Gosh, it's quite a big... I mean, a lot of these... It's a big family concern, isn't it? There's so much...
Oh yeah, a lot of the lads down the pit, they were all families working there. That's what destroyed the communities when they shut the pits down. That they were family jobs.
Yeah.
And I also said during the miners' strike, it weren't my job to sell.
It was what, sorry?
It wasn't my job to
Yes.
sell, it was somebody else's job
Yeah.
that was following me.
Yeah. Yeah, in a sense you were fighting for
Yeah,
the line.
yeah. I had no right to sell the job, it weren't mine.
Yeah.
I was just filling it in at the time.
Yeah. And so did you did you carry on working after your mining career?
Yes, I was an engineer. When I left the pits, I went to work in a paper mill. And I left there and went to work for British Rail for 10 years. And then I changed career and became a nurse.
Oh really?
And I've been a nurse since, yeah, for the last
Gosh.
23 years.
So how did that happen?
I just decided I wanted to do something different. I got made redundant with the railway and thought, I can't do this anymore. I want to do something else.
So you got made redundant twice?
No,
When
well,
you left the pit?
I just left the pit. Yeah, I didn't get made redundant, I just left. But when I got made redundant from British Rail, I thought, I've got to do something else, can't do this. So then
So
became a nurse,
So what type of nurse are you?
psychiatric nurse,
All right.
in a high security hospital.
All right. What does a high security hospital mean? Is it,
It's look after people with forensic needs, people who've done things that they need looking after in high security.
forensic needs?
Criminal.
Okay. So forensic is a word. Forensic needs. Just trying to work out what
It's
that means.
people with a criminal history.
Right.
Yeah.
But does forensic doesn't mean that though, does it?
No, it's
It's the way of.
people with criminalised history, yeah, and mental health problems.
Yeah. So do they come from all over the?
Going to come from all over the country, yeah. Yeah.
So did you always have kind of sympathies in that?
No, it's just something I fell into and enjoyed.
So all the skills you learnt.
It's amazing how many ex-miners actually do it.
Really?
Yeah, there's quite a few ex-miners. One of my colleagues, he did around about 10 years working with me, and then he went to live in New Zealand, doing it in New Zealand as a nurse, yeah.
So whereabouts is that? Where's the hospital?
It's Retford, Nottinghamshire.
Oh right, you're quite away.
Yeah, yeah.
So you've travelled a long way to be here.
Yes.
We're honoured. How far's Markham Main?
It's, do you know Doncaster? Do you know where the race course is?
Yes.
Well, it was the back of the race course.
Is it?
Yeah. Before they knocked it down and filled it in.
I was going to say, so much of that history has been flattened.
Yes.
It's extraordinary.
It had a proper Victorian steam engine winder in it, and they cut it. They wouldn't. I'm told they wouldn't let the museum have it. They cut it up.
God. When you say they, who do you think they is?
Well, it would be somebody at the top.
Yeah.
But Fred Dibner had broke his right arm to get hold of that.
Yeah. How old was Markham Main as a pit then?
It was around about 100 years old when they shut it, if I remember rightly. Probably just over. Had some old workings in it. In the old pit bottom, it had the old stables where the pit ponies were.
So was that the sort of place that you would walk through to get to where you want to be, or was it?
No, it was a little bit out of the way, but I mean, when I first started, I used to go around there regularly. There was still all the horse tackle there.
Really?
When I first started in the 1970s. Because the ponies haven't been out of the pit long in the 1970s. Probably been only out about 3 or 4 years.
Bless you. Thank you.
Um,
So was there still guys that worked with them when they were down there?
yes, they used to tell you the old chaps used to tell you the tales of the pit ponies. How they'd keep their orange in the pocket, and the pit pony had suck the orange through the pocket. So what was left was the pith and the peel.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, they were very clever. So they used to say.
So those guys who were using the pit ponies, what would they have graduated to once they'd gone? Would they
They'd have just went on to general haulage then, because the haulage, the goods that were moved in and out of the pit were done on a wire rope system.
Right.
So they just moved on to general haulage.
Do they get retrained, or do you need to get retrained for that?
Yeah,
sort of
they'll have got some training. I mean, the basic skills of working a tub in a coal pit, I don't think have changed over all the time. It's the difference between having a horse and fastening it to a rope that was the difference.
Did you ever work with them?
No, they'd gone by the time I can remember them being in the fields when I was a child, when we used to go up to Sanderbeek Wood. But by the time I started, they'd been gone probably 4 or 5 years.
Your granddad would have worked.
Yes, he would have worked with them.
I've heard some nice stories about them chewing tobacco and all sorts.
Yes, it's a disgusting habit, chewing tobacco. It wasn't a very pleasant habit, having people around you that chewed tobacco.
Was it all like being spat out all around your tea break time?
Yeah, well, they'd spit all over the place, yeah, and it was just... I'm not a smoker anyway, but it used to smell vile.
So I suppose they couldn't smoke, because obviously, was that an alternative, getting tobacco down without smoking?
Yeah, yeah.
So above ground, would they be smoking?
Yes, that and snuff.
No.
A lot of them took snuff. Of different varieties of flavours. I mean, I've never ever tried it, but it certainly smells. Some of the flavours smell quite nice. But yeah. Chewing tobacco, yeah, it was my own personal opinion, a disgusting habit.
Well, I only come across, the nearest thing I've come to it is in India, with this thing called Beetlejuice.
Yeah, similar, yeah.
And you'd sit, you go in these incredible, I said, well, they were cool. They were like dormitories, I suppose, youth hostels. And all the travelling guys, at night time, they'd be hawking up this stuff and just spitting on the floor.
Yeah.
And you're trying to sleep. It's worse than snoring.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Just
Betel.
I'm doing an impression.
Betel's a bit of a narcotic as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Betel, that's it, Betelgeuse.
Yeah.
See? Black as well.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
red, blood red.
Yeah.
The males, it was.
Yeah.
So I suppose that was quite, the culture of that was probably quite close to the.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Was there a sort of machismo attached to it?
Well, they always got the apprentices to try it, because
Would they laugh?
it was usually quite funny when they made themselves poorly with it.
Really poorly. So what was the effect it would have?
Well, if they swallowed it,
Oh.
it made them not very well. But,
Was that
yeah,
like their initiation then?
it could be. Yeah, it could be.
What was the initiation? Did you get initiated?
I don't know. I would never do anything. I'll try that. It's ugh.
I'm moving around you, don't worry.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It was very good. It's still as on your face is what's the word? It's not stuck, but it's set in a very pleasant, nicely benevolent style. So is it a dangerous place to work?
Can be, yes. You do get injuries.
Which is the most dangerous?
Mining by far. Yeah.
Were you witness to it?
Oh yes, I've several friends injured over the years. Some myself.
Really?
Yeah. Got a few scars.
Have you got a few scars?
Yeah.
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 It's gonna be like that scene in Jaws next. I'll show you mine.
I've got a nice one there.
I thought that was your head.
I've got one there.
Oh, I thought you
Oh,
meant
yeah.
from mining.
Yeah.
From the pit.
Yeah.
Payment deposit on that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How much do you get for that one?
I think at the time it was about £800,
Really?
that was in the 1980s.
So for a head injury,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not blue though. You let us down.
Yeah. And the nurse in the hospital did clean it very well and made me squeal.
So what was that? What happened there? You got hit by a.
I caught it on something in an accident, but the nurse at the hospital cleaned it well with a nail brush.
Oh my god.
Not allowed to do that now.
He wasn't, what was the name? The Canadian lady, Joe.
Joan Hart?
Oh, I don't know. It was in A&E middle at night.
Were you unconscious at the time?
No, I didn't even know I'd done it. I said to my friend, I said, it's made my nose bleed. He said, that made your nose bleed. He said, cut your head open, your brain's hanging out. Sit down.
And at that point, you got turned on to nursing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it did cut it down to the bone. But I didn't even know I'd done it.
So do you know what it was that hit you?
Yeah, it was an RSJ that it clipped my helmet, and I think it was I don't think the RSJ hit my face as such. I think it was the clip on the inside of the helmet that did it, as it spun my helmet around. Or I may be wrong, but I always thought it was the clip that did it, not the RSJ.
Have you been fishing?
Me, no. Not for
Not
Um,
season though, isn't it?
went last week, but bungalow working.
Bungalow working.
I bought a bungalow for the daughter, and I've been having to do it up for the last 3 months.
Oh, God. So when do you do the nursing?
On the days when I'm not doing the bungalowing.
Or the fishing.
Yeah,
Your wife got in quickly with that one.
yeah. Ignored her.
What are you fishing for?
Just coarse fish usually.
Carp?
Carp, roach, bream. But I do have a fishing boat on the east coast that I go out to sea in.
Really?
Yeah. Go sea fishing.
Gosh. Rod's out there.
Hmm?
Rod out on the boat.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps to put something in the freezer.
What are you getting on cod out there? Or?
Yeah, cod, ling, skate, whiting. Sometimes pollock, but I throw them back because although the posh fishing restaurants, I don't like them.
Really?
No.
That's great. I get brilliant models. It's just fantastic. You're really
What do you
good.
look for then in a good...
I don't know. It's just some few features that you can get hold of.
Wrinkles.
They help.
Wear and tear.
Bit of contour lines are good.
Laughter lines.
Yeah, but just a character. Bit of character. The only thing when you've got a good character, you don't want to go into caricature. You
Yeah.
don't want to end up doing a flock and roar.
Over-exaggerated
Spitting
speech,
image.
isn't it? Yeah.
You know, that's the danger. You want to
Yeah.
keep it. I mean, I quite like it to be art. I don't want it to be. It's quite easy to do character. Not that I'm very good at that sort of thing. But I can imagine it'd be really easy to turn
Yeah.
into a caricaturist. But really, what you want to do is get a personality across,
Yeah, they do.
and you want to get a face that sometimes tells two stories. So I call it duality when I'm in a pretentious place. I don't know if this counts. But you know, sometimes a face has one eye that's, you know, it's like it has a tear in it maybe, you know, or just a bit of sorrow. And another eye is kind of the face that's put forward, and you often find, I've got one in there actually, a guy that's had a lot of pain, a guy that lives in the past, you know, not lives in the past, but kind of visits the past a lot,
Yeah.
and is sad about things. And then you can see in it, you can see it in a face.
Some of them, you can almost hear the person talking when you look at it. It's really quite amazing. All of them.
Are they all ex-miners from Doncaster? Yeah.
Well, we've had a miner's daughter as well. Pit nurse,
Miner's grandchildren,
miner's grandchildren.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
was a- how old was that little boy?
10? Connor, he was lovely.
Mm.
You're the late shift.
Hmm?
You're the late shift. I start to tire.
Oh.
So have you always fished? Did you fish when you were down into the...
My dad taught me to fish, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, when I was very young. Probably about 5, 6. He taught me to
Gosh.
fish. Taught my sister to fish as well.
Really? So it's something obviously that you've done all your life.
Well, open air sports were always a big thing in mining communities because
Yeah.
they appreciated the open air and the
Yes.
countryside. When you spend all your day down a dark mucky oval, you appreciate the finer things of life.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. So is fishing a popular, one of the popular...
It was
hobbies?
about amongst miners, yeah, very popular.
Did you have like competitions for miners, or was it like just...
Is what, sorry?
Did you have like special fishing competitions for miners?
Well, they had several. They had their own fishing clubs, like a lot of industry did anyway. But, the coal mines were very big on sports. One of the big adverts for the NCB in the 1970s, 1960s, 1970s would come to work down a pit and go and do all these fantastic sports because they all had the big sports clubs, which running, fishing, skiing. They did all sorts.
Skiing?
Yeah, they did all sorts.
What, down the Sligo?
Yeah, down a pit. Yeah, they abroad. They did everything. They encouraged sporting activity because it kept you fit and healthy, and you could work longer and better. You're, the whole Victorian idea of a healthy workforce was nothing to do about looking after the workforce. It was because if you was healthy, you worked better
Yeah.
and you made more profit.
Have you got any funny stories?
But down pit, oh,
I can remember hearing a couple about food.
oh, you always used to find the mice to eat your sandwiches if you didn't keep them in
That weren't the
a
story.
tin. It was miners had opened the sandwiches and find an hole straight through them where mice had burrowed through them from one side to the other.
Did you get rats?
No, there
No
were
rats?
no rats down a coal mine, but it's got mice.
Why was there no rats?
They never got down. They were done down our coal mine anyway. The drift mines, I think they had them down drift mines, but
It's a drift
across the
mine.
region, drift mine is one where it has a shallow
Oh, right.
inclining tunnel into it. They're easier to get into a. But down a coal mine, it's harder for them to get down a shaft. Whereas mice are prolific. If there were no mice, you didn't want to be working there
Why is that?
because it were dangerous. Mice would never go anywhere near danger. If they thought there was anything that was life-threatening, they left.
Really?
What,
Yeah,
like gases? And
yeah, gas or water. You always find mice went first.
They like a signal then?
Well, they could be, yeah. Especially to the older miners, pre-60s, yeah, they paid a lot of attention to things like that.
I was talking just earlier about air pressure. Keeping an eye on air pressure.
Yes, you had air doors that kept it, because obviously you've got to suck fresh air in one end and out at other. It's like a big U-bend, that's probably the best way you could describe it, with a big fan at one end. So you had air doors that stopped the air shortcutting round the pit. So you had to go round the way you forced it to.
But the other, literally the weather and the fact that you looked at the barometer and you'd know if there was a chance of methane gas.
Oh yes, if you had a low pressure, you got fires and you got gas, things like that. If you always tell if it was going to be foggy or anything like that, you had problems. I worked on quite a few serious fires where one that we were only allowed to work for 4 hours at a time.
When you say a fire, you mean when coals caught fire?
Yeah, the coal, or what they used to call the waste. You get because the air is shortcut through the waste, and it'd cause a fire.
Because the air, the air cut through the waste.
Yeah, when a coal mine was going forward, what was left behind was just waste. With obviously air can get through because it's not solid coal. So your air would try to shortcut through it, which if you got any friction would cause a fire of some sort, and all the coal would catch fire.
So when the coal catches fire, that's pretty damn. I mean,
it's dangerous. Yeah.
I mean,
what they used to do was drill holes into it and then pump in. It was like a plaster mixture to seal it up.
But when you talk about the waste is all the loose stuff. That's hanging around
between the two roadways. Yeah.
And the gob.
Yeah.
And that is on fire.
Yeah.
So there's no wall between you and it.
No.
So you then ram concrete on the outside of it.
Well, they ram concrete on, and then they drill into it and pump. It's like a plaster mix into it.
So how, if you've got a 200-foot long coal face, 8 foot high, and you've got a fire there, do you do the whole 200 foot?
No, it's usually away from coal face. It's usually probably back a good way back from it. It had only been near coal face. Coal face had been stood for some reason. The coal face had stood, not been moving forward. But it was usually some way behind it.
How can you get something behind it if it's full of? I don't understand. So you've got a gob, which is all the hole. You've got a coal face. When you say behind it, is it
because that's where the gob is? Yeah.
But when you say it's some way behind, do you mean?
Well, it could be
20 foot into
50, yeah, it could be 50, 100 yards behind or wherever it forces its way through.
So okay. So I'm trying to work out. So you got your line of.
They could start anywhere.
So back. So you've got 3 or 4.
There are your two roadways with your coal face, and it could be anywhere back here.
Right back in here, 100.
But anywhere, yeah.
And how did it catch fire? Sorry.
It'd be there shortcutting because fire can't start without oxygen.
So it's very, very hot there.
Yeah.
And a bit of air gets in.
Yeah.
And it suddenly ignites.
Yeah. Well, it can
Just
do with
like air
friction. Yeah. With friction. Yeah. But if you've got a lot of great pressure on it, you'll need something in it that'll burn, which is loose coal, wood, anything. You used to use an awful lot of wood.
Gosh. So when you say you're working on the fire, you mean you're putting that concrete in?
No, well, the lads who were working the pumps, they put the concrete in. Our job was to keep the pumps running if they broke down, which they regularly did. Our job was to get them up running quick so they could carry on doing what they were doing. Because that was something else I was saying to somebody the other day. Yeah. People didn't realise about miners that they say, oh, you've got pale skin. But in winter you'd go to work when it was dark and you'd come home when it was dark. You never saw any daylight for a winter. You'd at least probably 4 months of the year.
Live.
Besides weekends, you never saw any daylight.
Did you have to take vitamins then?
No, they didn't exist in them days. Vitamins. One of the vitamins you got were out of a pint of beer in them days. Well, I want to know when you're 30 minutes up, do they turn the light out so you can't do it anymore? Or?
Yeah. I'll take the wax out of my mouth.
Tilts down.
The next model's the canary.
Oh, I think you should have one, definitely.
Well, I was always thinking if there was no show, I'd sit here for 2 hours modelling an imaginary canary. I'm quite excited really about a no show. Did you have much to do with the canaries?
My uncle used to breed canaries. He was one of the top. He was one of the top breeders and top judges for canaries.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
What, stemming from his mining experience? Or?
No. He was he was served a long time in the army, and then he worked on railways. Then he used to go all over the country judging canary shows.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have them down here when you were down there?
What? Oh yeah, we had canaries down there. Yeah, only when there was fires. That's the only time you took one down.
No, none of Uncle Bert's though.
No, these were bred specially for. Yeah, no, these were just scruffy canaries, not show canaries. You knew when you were in trouble when they fell off at perch. You give them a whiff of oxygen to get back on again, singing away.
I always thought that was rather sweet.
Hmm?
I always thought it was rather nice that there was canary resuscitators.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But they stopped that when they brought the newfangled gas detectors in. They just hung them up somewhere and they bleeped.
Oh, so nothing to do with animal rights?
Oh no, no to do with animal rights whatsoever. Canary were best gas detector going. Better than relying on a machine. Saved a lot of miners' lives.
So if you were doing a portrait at home, would it take about the same amount of time?
No. I mean, a portrait commission is usually about 7 or 8, 6, 7 sittings, and they're usually 3 hours each, you know, over a month. I think we're done actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
Can I get some photographs of you? Always.
Yes, please.
Are
Do you wanna hold your
alright?
head?
Yeah, if you are. Come on in, Laura. What do you think?
I think it's all right. Huh? I think it's very lifelike. Very good.